All right. Welcome, everyone. I hope you enjoyed a delicious lunch and are recharged for the rest of the day. We have an incredible insight session lined up for you, one that delves into the crucial topic of democratized data governance. I'm Carolyn, and I lead the marketing at Chainsys, and I'll be your host for the session. To lead us through this enlightening discussion, I have the honor of introducing a distinguished speaker, Jared Campbell, hailing from the picturesque Traverse City, Michigan. Jared currently serves as the Chief Data Officer for PSL Group North America. With a rich background spanning over a decade, Jared has been a driving force in enabling organizations to unlock the full potential of their information resources. His expertise spans across a diverse array of industries, including financial, hospitality, retail, insurance, and healthcare. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jared Campbell as he takes the virtual stage to enlighten us on the topic of democratized data governance. Over to you, Jared.
Awesome. Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, so democratized data governance. This is I would say, very much a hot topic of the conferences that I've attended this year. And so what I'm going to go through today is provide my insight and my understanding as to how we can continue to provide value through data governance across organizations. So the topics that we'll go over during this presentation, one, I'm going to go through and work to explain democratized data governance. What does it actually mean? How does an organization use it? The opportunities that organizations are faced with, that we're bringing in a robust governance platform or program can help improve operations, improve their overall business. Sample use cases across different industries that I've experienced and where it's been very crucial to make sure that all teams are on the same page as to what they're trying to accomplish and how to effectively communicate with one another. How do you empower your business groups to help drive and support your governance strategy? This spans multiple groups. It's not just a technology. And when starting out or trying to hit the reset button, what would be a starting point for the roadmap to success? So what is democratized data governance? I'm going to break it down into just the two words, democratize, right? Meaning that I'm making it available for everyone. Often where I've seen is that governance is trying to be applied in a way that is very much controlled by a very small group, meaning that there are things that we missed, right? So instead of having it towards controlled by a small set of individuals, the idea here is to actually empower the business to have additional input from multiple stakeholders, from the day-to-day users of information, so that everyone can reap the benefit of successes that other teams have. Then governance, right? Where we want to go through and be an overseeing or an acting governing body to control the way we want to go, the way we want to name things, how we want to have the organization leverage information in today. So this is where I look at it as, it's kind of breaking up the two concepts. One is I need to make sure that this is a practice that can be adopted by the entire organization. And then two, that we actually are being proactive and enforcing the policies and the roadmaps that we are setting out for ourselves. So when we look at some modern challenges, today, and this is just a simple breakdown. I'm not going to go. I haven't included a number of other groups that may be part of an organization, but here are four that are typically found across the board. Right, you're going to have a finance group, you're going to have a sales team, you're going to have your operational groups, and then you also have your technology group working to support all three. Now, when we're trying to make sure that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, we don't necessarily want to be operating in silos, right? We want to be sure that when we're going through and we're selling something, right, that we are aware as to when can we actually produce it, how much is this going to be, from a revenue standpoint, how much is this revenue is going to be generated from this sale, and how do we make it to where all these different organizational units are able to openly collaborate with one another? So what I've kind of went through and looked at is, let's try to break this down by some forms of technology or ways that your organization may operate today. So starting on the left, we'll look at, I might have a team that's leveraging Microsoft Teams, Microsoft OneDrive, SharePoint. Maybe you're a Google organization. You're using Google Drive, Sheets, Slides, Forms, right? All this is for the business suite, right? So there's a lot of information that may be distributed within the confines of an enterprise suite that has a lot of valuable information that could be leveraged by more than just one group of an organization. We step into some, I would say, more robust operational platforms. Say you're an organization that has Salesforce, or the plethora of products that Salesforce provides, or HubSpot for your CRM, ABSAP, helping on your fulfillment side. Right. Now, if you have platforms like this, there is information that may be being distributed across, say, some of your infrastructure behind the scenes. Maybe you're a cloud-centric organization. You adopted Amazon, you've adopted Azure. Maybe you're an Oracle cloud, right? There's processes and services that you've established over in these different ecosystems for a reason, to meet a specific business objective. And then let's say the last one, viewing is, well, how do I provide insight as to how things are going? How are we excelling as a business? Where are we struggling as a business? Now, there will be bits of information throughout each one of these areas that could be a leading indicator of that, right? But it's, for one, you don't necessarily know what you have if you're not actively governing the information as it exists within your organization. Now, what I've also experienced is that you'll have teams that are unaware of the technologies that are available to them, and maybe they're looking at other vendors where this problem has already been solved by another group, but due to poor communication and collaboration, siloed solutions will always be a challenge that you'll have to deal with. Now, one of ways to mitigating that is having a governing body that is being able to highlight the business objectives and needs, and how does this information all correlate back together. So when I look at the concept that I would like to break data governance down into, it's more or less into 4 categories. Right. One is I focus on the quality that it brings. I want to make sure that the information that is being used by the organization to make business decisions is accurate and precise. This is where data quality has become a very much a pivotal role and an effort at organizations today. And so without high quality comes potentially poor results, poor outcomes. Stewardship. When I say stewardship, it's you have the governing body or the community that is helping establish standards, helping curate your information, and making sure that you're able to have that open collaboration between groups, between systems. And one example here would be master data management. The idea of a golden copy of certain data sets, whether it's your customer, your vendor, your product. These are key bits of information that are needed to be curated on an ongoing basis to make sure that they are being able to be effectively leveraged across the entire enterprise. Ongoing management. Now, separate from stewardship, which is I'm creating, I'm maintaining. This is more, what information do I have available for use across my organization, right? Do I have finance information that's sitting in multiple locations? Do I have maybe purchase information or account activity data? Where does this information reside? Well, we need to have that clear inventory of where all of the data assets exist. So then we can also have an understanding as to how would I leverage this for the business. That's where classification would come in. So recently it's been pushed that, hey, we want to make sure that we're maintaining our data catalog. We're establishing a data dictionary. We know where our information is, and then how can we leverage it? And then the last pillar that brings it all together is security. Now that we have established, I know where my information's at, well, who actually needs access to this? We want to make sure that we're securing our business critical assets from an information standpoint, because in today's day and age, data is one of the most valuable assets that an organization has. So we're looking at organizational opportunities, right? So this would be just a few examples of where I would look at a company today may struggle with, right? The being able to understand where are my critical documents, such as whether it's contractual agreements between clients and vendors, proprietary calculations or proprietary product information. I need to make sure that I know where that's at. And then on another state, what if I have information that needs to be very tightly regulated? This would be PII, PHI, PCI. In order for us to go through and maintain compliance with policies such as GDPR, I need to know where all of my information would reside. That would be pertinent to that regulatory requirement. And the lack of standards when we look at building out products, building out the ability for us to automate process. These are challenges that come into play when you're not necessarily using the same playbook. So what this will lead to is you'll have potentially extended delivery timelines of projects or tasks, just because there's the need to go back and forth. Right? If time would have been taken up front to curate information that is needed by all teams, you would be able to eliminate some needs for additional communication or clarification, leading to time and to an improvement in time to delivery. Then if you look like on the technology side, when we're looking at infrastructure standards, right? We may have it to where we have multiple reports trying to tell a very similar narrative, but do we trust it? Inconsistency of trying to identify that this information is part of the organization, right? Is this information that finance owns and needs to maintain? Is this operational? Is this technology? Is this human resources? Right? Having that inability to clearly understand where this information resides and who needs to management can have legal repercussions. And then also on the security side, again, coming back to who do I need to give access to what systems and why? Knowing that if you have an analyst, what is that analyst's role? What do they need access to complete their day-to-day tasks? And then lastly is managing those enterprise data assets, making sure that the information that you have isn't repetitive in nature. Is it kept up to date? Is the business using the right information to make their decisions as to how to operate? All of these are opportunities when we look at the concept of governance for the entire organization. And so what I've also noticed is that you have very much this push on governance technology as of late. But data governance is not about just a technology. If you're trying to establish a data governance practice, or you already have and it's struggling, probably because you're having low adoption rates because the business stakeholders don't necessarily see the immediate value as to what this program can provide to the organization. And if you're able to approach it as we're looking at it from the entire organization, not just from technology, it's not about databases, it's not about tables or views, it's more than that. It comes down to the actual information used by your frontline workers, by your fulfillment team, by your financial analysts. All of this information is intertwined one way or another. So I'm going to step into a few use cases. Now, and again, these are just from personal experience, but what I have highlighted here are key subject areas for each one of these use cases. Right? So say I'm with a print manufacturing organization. Right? So you'll see they do screen printing on big billboards. They'll print signs that'll be hung around town, or banners that'll be draped for, say, events at facilities. So throughout this process, their employees are going to go through a number of steps, and they're all going to be interrelated. So first off, someone has to create this product. What is it going to be? What type of material will this blueprint print on? Right? Am I correlating that this blueprint will be able to be used for a number of factors? Is it for indoor? Is it for outdoor? what is the, does it need to have, can it have exposure to sunlight? Can it not have exposure? These are all indicators as to, well, if I'm going to design something and it's going to be put on a specific material, I need to know that exact information. So when my marketing team wants to go through and promote this new product that we're pushing, that they're able to then accurately advertise as to what is it that this product can actually be used for. Your sales team actually can fully qualify and even look at current organizations that they partner with, and will this be a product that could be sold to existing clients, or am I also looking for the net new client? Your operational team, now back to the design, if they don't know what this piece of art or this design can be printed on, do they know with a certainty that that they can fulfill this actual product, right? So when we look at, say, printing on, say, a mesh material, right? There's going to be different size of mesh. Well, how will the different inks be able to go through and bind with that material? So you need to have that understanding as to, from start to finish, that when they're going through and they're designing this, that is something that I can actually fulfill. And now once we've created the product, we've shipped it off to our customers. Well, how much money do we actually make off this product? And then, since this is going to be something we're going to be doing on an ongoing basis, how do I maintain the team to go through and continue to fulfill this product? Making sure that I have the proper team and the right skill set staffed to maintain the production of the product that has been created. Now, the common theme here is product, right? So along the way, you're having a number of different teams leverage this product information. Now, if there's different systems and there's inconsistencies, you'll have it to where you may have an issue when trying to go through and productionalize this thing, where the designer didn't take into consideration what products that this thing could be actually printed on, right? So it's having that full understanding as to how this will be consumed, but then having that collaboration as to understanding what is the best mode of delivering this product to my customers. Now, I've come from a healthcare organization in the past, so this one hits home, and a lot of us have gone through and experienced this, right? So, for a healthcare organization, the patient is sometimes, most of the time, that's us, right? We're looking for medical care, whether it's your routine checkup, whether you feel like you have an illness or it's an emergency, right? You're going to seek out medical care. You're going to be checked in. Your information is going to be captured. What's your insurance provider? What's your basic information? So we can make sure that we're able to go through and build your profile and make sure that everything is associated correctly to your chart, right? As you're going through triage or in your initial visit with the nurse, they're going to grab your vitals, right? Again, and this is all information that's linked back to the patient. You'll meet with the physician. Maybe you'll have a diagnosis, maybe you won't. Maybe there'll be a care plan that'll be outlined, but you'll be then discharged, and then at the end, well, the medical facility also has to then bill for the services rendered, right? Now, for this, it really comes back to the patient. So when you're looking at the use of EMRs, and then also the availability of claims information that would allow us to provide risk stratification to really establish effective care plans, it really comes down to making sure that we have the most accurate information about this patient as possible, so that we're providing the correct health advice, right? And that's big. When you're looking at, say, the treatment of diabetes, you will have multiple interactions. There's a lot, and so you want to make sure that you're being capable of capturing the diagnosis, that between systems you're able to have that open communication to make sure that they're able to fulfill their medication. They're able to receive their physical therapy and be able to check in on how their actual progression is towards those healthcare goals that you guys have set together. And for a financial organization. So here, this is where I started, it was in finance. And so here you have a number of ways to go through and have a financial organization expand their product offering to a given customer, right? So say we come in, we want to open up a brokerage account. right? So we'll go through, we as the customer will provide information about us. Who's our employer? How much do we make? What is our financial goals? How do we feel? How do we feel that we'll be able to accomplish those goals based on the plan that we've put together, right? So, but there you'll have transactional information, right? Maybe you're going to buy some stocks, some ETFs, some mutual funds. And then maybe you'll say, hey, I want some professional advice. So now I'm going to sit down with a financial advisor at this firm, and we're going to kind of go over what it is that I've been doing and what, again, the goals that I'm trying to accomplish. Now, maybe I feel that that advisor is able to manage it better than I am, right? Again, it's coming back to the organization having the correct information to then potentially qualify me as someone that would be a potential customer for them to engage with managed brokerage services for. And then, maybe there's other product opportunities that this firm provides. Maybe they provide insurance, maybe they provide credit cards, maybe they provide personal loans, right? Now I'm exposed to additional products that would help this financial organization meet the revenue objectives, right? Again, the more information that they have around the different products that I'm potentially qualified for, that increases the value that I provide to that company, but then also the value that they can provide back to me as the customer. In retail, we do this every day, and I know that my wife and I joke that the rising cost of groceries, that you're coming back with less and less, but it's in the retail space, being able to identify where the pain points are, right? As to if you have a grocery store or storefront where you're displaying products that you may have in inventory, whether it's in the back or at a warehouse, right? Your storefront is really the display case, right, where someone can go in and grab something. You'll have a set inventory that you'll want to go through and maintain. Well, and then customers purchase that product. What information do I have on those customers? How often are they purchasing it? How much are they spending on these types of products on a regular basis? The overall supply chain and logistics. How much do I need to maintain on hand? How much do I maintain in my warehouse to where I'm able to still meet demand and support the local stores that I have to continue to bring in that additional dollar spent, right? Because typically when we go to the store, we may go for not only just one thing, but usually a few things, right? And while you're there, you'll find something else, right? It's making sure that those storefronts still have those additional items that go hand in hand. Example would be typically when I'm buying taco seasoning, I'm probably going to buy taco shells, right? So making sure I have a steady supply in those because they go hand in hand. They are related products. Being able to understand by storefront, how much revenue am I making? How much revenue am I losing by these products? Is it something that is trending that I need to make sure that I have on hand because it will be going fast, right? Is it in limited supply to where I'd be able to dynamically raise the price? This is all information from a finance standpoint that is beneficial. And then marketing, knowing what products to push to which customers. As we go through and you'll sign up for these loyalty programs. We use Meijer up here in northern Michigan, so we'll go through and we'll provide our information so that we can get those discounts. Well, I'm also helping provide them with the information about the products that I buy, and also how they market those additional products or products that will complement to me as the customer. And then, as I find things that I like, right, I'm going to provide feedback on those products, right? This is all information that can help improve organizational operations and increase business revenue. And then I would say the hottest topic that has been going on this year is this talk of generative AI, right? Well, AI has been around for a while. It's just gotten to a point now where we have these large language models that we're able to interact with quite easily versus how we'd be able to do it in the past. So for us, these things to work, though, they have to sit on top of large data assets, right? And now the quality that you're going to get out of these data assets is very much going to be indicative of the quality you maintain, as an organization. Okay, so when you're looking at training these models, right, the model learns off the information that resides in these data assets. If you're not effectively managing it, you basically have, they call it junk data, right, you're going to get junk results, right? So the need for data quality is imperative when it comes to trying to train AI models to provide you with the trusted outcomes that you're looking for. So when we're looking at leveraging generative AI, so whether it's for asking simple questions, asking it to write code for us, asking for it to establish a probability equation for us based on some type of factors, right? The more quality information that it has to learn from prior to that question ever being asked is what will lead to more desirable outcomes that will provide value back to the organization. Now, when we look at, so I've gone over use cases. I've touched on the areas of opportunity. Now, how do we actually go through and put this in place, right? When the governance practice is looking to be established, or if it already has been established, the key to its success is going to be that business user involvement, right? Having an understanding of how the business operates, what are the processes today that are being used across the organization, how critical are they to the organization, making sure that we have the right team members, the right security and policies, the right access to this is all crucial. And when we look at what will come from focusing on these areas of around this concept of democratized governance, it's to help identify the most valuable areas first. Right? When I was discussing about how printing a material, well, if you don't have the right relationships between what it is you're trying to create and the material you're trying to use to print on, you may print on that, you may ruin material. You may have a product that you are not able to sell. So that is right there, that is hitting your revenue in a negative way, right? So that would be the first step is one, establishing that there's the business process and the business stakeholders that need to be involved for this to take off, right? Now, if we look at the visual here, it has three core areas, and I would say technology is last, right? First, it's identifying those champions. Then it's looking at the process that we need to go through and make sure that we're effectively able to execute on. And lastly, we look at the technology and how we can go through and help solve our problems. So, one of this last sentence here that, technology supports data governance, but the data governance is not a technology, it's more of a methodology. It's a practice that the organization adopts to help improve the overall accuracy of the information. Now, the roadmap to success. Now, this is if you're, for this example here, if you're looking to start off and establish data governance practice, this is where I think that there's the first step, again, is identifying those key subject areas that are critical to the business's success. Once you have those, right, now you're able to also understand who owns those processes. What teams do I need to interact with? And then within those teams, who can help me promote this practice? Who can be a champion for me? And they'll help us adopt the process. They'll help us with the improvement in overall quality, adhering to the standards that we're putting in place, and really helping support the growth and the impacts of a data governance strategy. Establishing measurable goals. What are we trying to accomplish with this? Are we trying to reduce the amount of time that it takes us to manufacture some of our products? Are we trying to reduce our overall revisits from patients? Are we trying to identify those key customers for us to provide additional services to? What is it that we're trying to accomplish with this exercise. It's one thing to come in again and just put a technology in place, but what we really need to do is establish how are we going to measure success of the practice that we're seeking to provide across the organization. And then lastly, it's looking to identify, that what is the best tool for us to use. Now, if I look at Changes, it's a tool that has a number of different functionalities, including data governance, that would bring all of this together. Right? You're able to go through and have the ability to establish your data catalog, identify your assets, put in place process as to how you're able to effectively manage your data sets when it comes to standards and governing. And then once you have it determined, that this is the technology that is right for the organization for us to execute the strategy with, then you can look for, that starting that project, right? But trying to implement data governance without going through, let's say, these initial steps will typically lead to longer implementations and potentially even failed implementations when you're trying to build your data governance practice. Bringing this all kind of back to, where does this, again, from the democratized concept, right? Again, governance for all, right? This is where you're establishing that life cycle between your core business teams and core business units to foster growth together. You're having your technology groups work with your finance teams. Your finance teams are working with your operations teams. And operations is also, this whole cycle is coming back to where we're able to leverage the lessons learned, but also ensure that we're meeting the expectations for collaboration when it comes to the overall success of a data governance strategy. So, and then I think that's for me. That, Caroline, I think that is all I have for today. And let's went through it a little quicker than expected, but I think we can open it up for questions.
Perfect. Perfect, Jared. Thank you so much. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. So now it's your turn to ask questions that you may have. Please use the question box at the bottom of the screen, and I'll bring them up right away. Yes, Jared, I have a couple of questions coming in.
Okay.
How does your organization build a successful data governance practice?
As I touched on, the biggest thing is understanding what goals are you trying to accomplish first, right? Coming in and really having the idea is we have an objective versus just trying to say we're trying to implement this new technology, this new approach, right? Without establishing a means of measuring your success, that's what will lead to, I'd say, failed implementations. So that upfront due diligence is very much required. That buy-in from the business, having them understand the overall value, that's how you will come in and establish let's say, the roadmap to success, right? If it's driven by the business and supported by technology, that's where you'll really see it. I would say a high probability for a successful data governance practice.
I have someone asking you some examples of how low-hanging fruits to prove data governance value for the organization.
Yeah, if we're looking at low-hanging fruit, it would, you can look at some of your typical domains that your organization will have, right? You'll typically have a vendor domain or a customer domain or a product domain, location, right? These are all areas of information that are used by a number of different teams, right? So if you're doing, say, your financial reporting based on a given region, well, if you're able to go through and take a look at that information, are you able to accurately put it into segments that you're expecting, right? Are you seeing areas where you're having poor quality, right? Because when you're seeing data governance and work, the quality is one of the first things that you'll realize is the improved accuracy of reference information, of key terminology, of key metrics that are used by the business, right? So that's, I would say, starting there is the way of being able to see, like, is, the effort that we're putting in place, are we seeing an overall improvement in the quality of the information that is being used by the organization, by the business? That would be I'd say, the low hanging fruit.
Great. Why would a customer choose Chainsys for data governance?
Yeah, great question. So when looking at the platforms that are out there today, having the means of being able to link governance and integration and quality and data management all together, what I've seen, Chainsys has all of those boxes checked. I'm able to not only apply governance, I also have the means of enforcing data quality, establishing a master data management strategy within the Chainsys platform, proactively manage my reference information, and if needed, I can also build custom tools to meet my needs. That may not be natively out of the box with Chainsys, but the flexibility is there for me to meet my business objective.
Great. What should a company look for in a data governance platform?
Ease of use is one of the biggest things. When you have just the user experience of being poor, right? If it takes a lot of actions to get to an outcome, right? That's where you'll typically see a drop off in users, right? So let's say one of the most successful technologies that you can put in place are the simplest ones to maintain and to use. So again, if you're the main thing is you're gonna be looking for business adoption, right? The governance is it's not a technology tool, right? We don't necessarily want to have the need for technology experts embedded in each one of these business units just to be able to enable governance within those groups, right? We want to be able to have the basics of the most basic of user being able to contribute wherever necessary.
Great. Any other questions coming up? I think we've done with all the questions, Jared. Thank you so much. What an insightful session it was. We've truly gained value insights into how modern data governance platforms are revolutionizing business operations across various sectors you mentioned. And thank you everyone for being a part of this engaging session. We hope you found it as enriching as we did. Stay tuned for more exciting sessions and don't miss your chance to win amazing prizes in the upcoming raffle. Just go back to the sessions page and you can join the next session. Thank you all and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Caroline. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.